to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you've had a bloody good long weekend if you've had a long weekend in your part of the world. I did have a long weekend in my part of the world, as you probably guessed. Well, what did I do? I wasn't terribly well for part of it. That was sort of Saturday, Sunday. Yesterday, I recovered a bit, but worked on something else that I've been putting together now for a little while. And hopefully we will be able to bring you some news of that in the not too distant future. But it's something a bit different to what the Voice of Freedom is all about. But it might give you guys an opportunity to really pick up something very spectacular indeed. So a little bit of a tease for that. But I do hope you had a great long weekend, if that's what your weekend was. Silver Fox first in the room tonight. You haven't been in a while, mate. You must have been working hard over your printer. Speaking of which, the last of Silver Fox's Voice of Freedom holders went out in the mail today. I think everybody bar one person, Joe, you know who you are. Everybody bar Joe has either received their Byron Bobs or they are in the mail to them as of today, and this is what you will receive. Well, there's one missing out of there, but you'll receive one that is not missing one. That's what you'll pick up. Beautiful little thing. This one is one of the ones printed by the wonderful Vince. Silver Fox, I would love to show you an example of his, but alas, all I can do is show you the empty box. So that's that, unfortunately. He hopefully... Not sure if you're making any more for us or not, mate, but let us know how much you need for the plastic involved, and Vince will sort you out with all of that. And if you folks would like to get yourself an ounce of Byron Bobs or more, then all you've got to do is email me, carl@vofhq.com, and let me know how many you'd like. There's 10 per ounce, if you like, and these are 1 ounce holders. So you'll get 10 of those 1 ounce or 1/10 of an ounce Byron Bobs, which, given the current price of silver at $73, well, hang on, let me just refresh that. $73.57. It's just gone back under $73 to $72.94, but that'll go up again in the not too distant future. Don't worry about that. The Byron Bobs currently worth $10.25 each. So 10 of those coming your way. $130 is the current cost of them, and that includes postage from memory. No, that's not including postage. Vince will kill me. So $130 plus postage, which I think is $14, and the bag is on the way. So far, it seems to take the longest getting bags to Western Australia. So Shane, I know yours is on the way, but there are others who have picked up things from Western Australia before. And I don't know, we must be taking the slow truck over. That's all I can say. So you should get it this week, though. If you haven't already got it, folks in Western Australia should be there for you this week. Macca was in the house second. Nice to have you in. G'day, Debs. Lovely to see you. It's been a little while. The lovely Sandy Kay. God love you, woman. I hope you and all those around you are doing so very, very well. And life with the donkeys, never easy. There are plenty of wonderful donkeys that require support, varying levels of support. Some of them just need to be supported getting from one paddock to the next to eat their fill of hay and all that sort of stuff. But there are a few others who do need a bit more support than that. And they do eat a shitload of hay. So that's why we have a lottery, so that we can help Sandy supply a little bit of something, whether it be hay or medicine or help to pay for 2 teeth to be shod, or however that works in the donkey world. So we have a lottery, and you can go and buy our lottery tickets. They're only $2 each. This lottery seems to have been going on the longest of them all, and it's partly my fault because I haven't been telling you about it often enough. There's been so many other things going on. So I've just posted it in the chat. The link is also in the description of the video. But we would love for you folks to spend $2 and more if you can. Buy a ticket. There are only 750 tickets in the draw, and you stand the chance of winning $750 or one of these with an ounce of silver in it. Sounds good? We can help you out. Go to merch.vofhq.com and click on the Sanctuary 750 link, and that'll take you straight to where you can buy a ticket in the draw. If you haven't already done so, please, folks, please go and help us knock this one over. I'm not sure if it's at the end of this we put up another gram of gold or if it's at the end of the next one. I'll have to clear that with Vince, but rest assured we have more gold to be giving you the opportunity to win. We may even find out with a different way to give it to you. Yep, I have a talk with Vince. He's the master of all things like that. We are restrained in what we can do given the laws that we have to operate under for this particular lottery, but it just means we can't give away more than a certain amount, I'm pretty sure. But I think we are falling well under that certain amount at this point in time. So let us know what you'd like to do, folks. If you'd like to buy yourself a ticket in the lottery, then easy enough. merch.vofhq.com and click on the Sanctuary 750 link, and we'll see how that goes. G'day, Margot. Lovely to see you back in. Connie's in the house too. Sorry I didn't catch up with you yesterday, Connie. We will have to catch up this week, though. I know you've frozen food for me. It's wonderful, and I am looking forward to having a taste. The big fella is back, piling Linux on a new computer, mate. Oh, nice. All right. If I knew how Linux worked, I'd be very impressed. Hello, Pegs. Hope you're going all right. The lovely Paul and Daniel in the house. Dusty, I see you are floating around too, and I saw a comment there before where you were feeling a bit invisible. To which Nevin replied, has anybody seen Dusty? Yeah. Wapler's in the house. I'm pleased for that. We're going to have a bit of a talk about Wapler in the not too distant future. And I'm glad that you are repairing yourself well, mate, and life, the universe, and everything is kicking along well after you've had the plugs cleaned and rerouted. I'm just having a bit of a check through the chat for various different pieces before we get into it tonight. See if anybody's got any questions. The magnetosphere is down 30%. So we're getting a lot of astrological signs. The sun is throwing out all sorts of weird things at us at the moment, and it's throwing it in great abundance, shall we say. Now, some of these energy bursts are transformational, I believe, for humanity. I believe it is helping to wake many, many people up. And put it this way, a month ago, there weren't as many of us as there are today. I firmly believe that. How awake are the new awakenees? Well, not nearly as awake as we are, right? They're about as awake as we were 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe longer for some people, but they are awake. And once they're awake, as you know, the learning comes thick and fast, and then you want to share it because you think you're the only one who knows it. And it's this great discovery, and why doesn't everybody know it? We know how it works, so keep playing. It's coming. I missed the feeder question for this. I must go back and have a look. How about conducting a class, the best ways to piss off Harvey? Well, I'm not going to comment on that. Although I might enter the competition, I'm not quite sure. G'day, Pete from Pinaroo. Trust you are doing all well. God, some of the things that Pete and his young bloke are coming up with, folks, I'm not going to say, but there could be a microphone in some of your futures. I'm just saying. That's as much as I'm going to say. Won't be a working microphone, but it will be a spectacular one. Just that's all I'm going to say. Katrina, your little post went out today too, and dry and gusty in Tassie, windy tomorrow. Well, look, you don't have to worry too much, Katrina. It is coming into summer, and I'm sure when you hit 22 or 23 degrees over there, you'll break out into a sweat. And you'll be looking forward to winter coming back again. That dry wind, though, must be coming off the continent because there's not too much dry and gusty, I guess, coming. Well, I suppose they could be coming from Antarctica. What do I know? Andrew, hope you're doing all right. The lovely Maria, I hope you are doing okay. Scott T, marvellous to see you in the chat, mate. And, sorry about the microphone issues the other night. I think you were right. If you were watching Friday night, Scotty came on for a bit of a chat about LifeWave, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, we couldn't fathom it. His microphone sounded like he was, was speaking from the bottom of his shoe with his foot in over the top of it. Turns out there may have been an errant speaker somewhere that had turned itself on and pretended it was a microphone. And that's what we were picking up on. So we'll get Scotty back on for another chat, though, because I'm very interested to make sure that you hear that story. His is quite an amazing story, as most of them are with LifeWave. But clearly a few of you did hear that, because over the weekend I've been approached by a number of folks who are looking for LifeWave patches, the X39 patches. And some folks I've had to disappoint because I have none left myself. In fact, I don't even have one left myself now. New packs have been ordered, and I should have them hopefully early next week, maybe late this week possibly, but early next week probably. And I will get those off to the folks who are looking for those. Some of you don't want to sign up or don't have a card or whatever it is, so you're sending me money and I'm buying them on your behalf. Look, I can do that, but I can't do that forever. So just be aware that at some point you're probably going to need to take over doing that for yourself, if you are finding a benefit out of them, as many of you are doing. Sadly, there are a very small percentage, like Sandy, that it doesn't do anything for at all. In fact, made life a little more difficult for her. Cataphie, your U-turd won't load up on your phone. That's a little weird. I don't know why it wouldn't be doing that, although it has been doing some weird things. It's let the Aussie Cossack back on. I shouldn't say that. It's actually let one of my channels back on too, if I just can't remember how to get into it. So as soon as I figure that out, I'll need to go and open up one of the old computers. It'll probably still have the logins in it somewhere, and we'll be able to bring that channel back to life. We'll see what happens. All right, so I think I've scrolled down here. The lovely Sunflower, God love you, woman. I hope you and Rick are doing well. Rick's another one, sadly, that the X39 patches didn't have much or any effect on, and just makes me sad. Those people that you would wish for the most success, not often, but at times have the least. So very sad, very sad. Somebody said in chat that the NWO is going to get use of the Australian Parliament House as its headquarters. Well, it already is. The Australian Parliament is not a parliament. The flag doesn't touch the ground to begin with. So it is just a building. It is a mausoleum. It is a cathedral to corruption. I think that's what we should be referring to it as, Chris. It's certainly not a parliament, but there are other ways and means of proving that too. Just between you, me, and Tim Dwyer, maybe. I think I've seen any of the questions that were. Is Carl offline? No, I'm here, Paul. Or have I gone offline? No, it says I'm still streaming. Okay, think I've got that right. Thought the moon. Oh, isn't there a big moon tonight? Keep an eye out for the moon tonight. I believe it's a big moon, some special moon. Not a full moon, just a big moon. Please remember, folks, like and share if you can do that. It will really help the algorithm. And if you are commenting, just drop us a line from where you are from. If you're not watching the show live and you're putting something in the comments, very keen to see whereabouts you are, because I'm going to be hitting the road very soon and I'd like to come and see you. Yeah, I'm going to come and visit you. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to pull up, in your driveway, but it does mean I might come to your town and let you know that I'm coming to your town. I'm trying to put a bit of a list of people and places together so that rather than just tear-assing through a whole heap of towns between place A and place B, I can slow down a little bit and spend a little bit of time, maybe a night or two in towns I wouldn't ordinarily stop in. So very keen to do that. So drop me a line, carl@vofhq.com, and tell me where you are and how I can get a hold of you. Just a phone number would be great. And an email address would be even better. Tony's in the house. Lovely to see you, mate. I hope you had a great long weekend. Tony, of course, is our Melbourne stringer, as we're calling him. And if you'd like to be a stringer, we could certainly do with your help. It doesn't mean that you've got to run around and hang anybody. Far from it. Well, kind of. If you've got a camera, and a camera could be just as easy as your mobile phone and a little holder to put it in so you don't get sore arm holding it up all day, and going to some of these events, particularly the March for Australia, which is the next big march that's coming up here on the 19th of October, right across Australia. I've received a message from Beck Freedom today, who said she's very keen to come on and have a chat this week. So hopefully tomorrow night, Beck Freedom will be on for a bit of a chat. And she may bring one of the other organisers from one of the other cities on for a chat too, which will be interesting. Now, I know there are people watching right now that are going to go, oh my God, how could you talk to Beck Freedom, Carl? Oh God, racist this, Nazi that. Look, I know people have very strong feelings one way or the other. Some people have very strong feelings one way or the other on this. I will simply tell you my position on the NSN and Beck Freedom and the March for Australia, as opposed to, say, the Save Australia rally, which is going to happen next month, organised by a couple of other people. Now, let's start with why I support the March for Australia. There are a few reasons I supported March for Australia when it first occurred, and that's because it had a very, very easy message to understand. And that was, we support the Australia that we all know and love, the Australia that had certain ideals, certain values, based on our Christian Western democracy, and a certain way of life, a larrikinism, if you like, that modern Australia appears to be having driven out of it by legislation, red tape, and incompetent, corrupt foreign organisations acting as governments. Now, I really think there's a lot of education that's got to go in before we can change all of what I've just said. But the fact of the matter is, we can all identify with what being Australian is all about. It's about giving people a fair go to begin with. And that's what I didn't see when the first March for Australia was announced. What I saw out of a few people, one of whom I was very surprised, what I saw out of a few people was an immediate attack. No support, an immediate attack highlighting, oh, they're Nazis. Oh, the NSN, Nationalist Socialist Network, I think that stands for. A nationalist group. They put nationalist in their name and socialist in their name. Now, were the Nazis nationalists? Certainly. Were they socialists? Absolutely. But if you go and understand the true history of the Second World War, or actually the true history of Germany prior to the Second World War, you might begin to understand a little more given that perspective. So, I believe that the NSN is, if we are going to rise up and protest for free speech, something that isn't enshrined in any kind of legislation or Bill of Rights in Australia, but if we're going to go outside and wave our flags and moan about free speech, then we do not get to moan about who speaks freely. I believe that. And then by coming out, and I thought that the attacks that Beck suffered in particular, because the other organisers in the other cities didn't stand up. They didn't put their heads up and say, here, it's me, it's me, it's me. So Beck Freedom, a woman, and her other half, Jessie, but predominantly Beck, took the flogging of a lifetime because she had the audaciousness to fire up and have a march that had an open mic at it. Now, from memory, I think it was the only open mic that was planned through all of them, across all of the capital cities. Adelaide eventually wound up having a bit of an open mic, but I don't know if that was by design or just by theft. But she was being attacked, and the vitriol was awful, particularly from somebody I'm still shocked and amazed that this person was so horrid. And then it turned into a bitch fest. And I do mean bitch fest because there's a lot of women involved in this, right? And it was a bitch fest. And the problem with bitch fests is blokes like me don't give a shit about the manipulations, and that's exactly what it is, the manipulations played out by some of these women. There are also men involved, don't get me wrong, who are just as bitchy and just as vicious as these women, all set out to attack Beck Freedom and the March for Australia, which had gathered a great deal of momentum by that stage. A lot of people were coming out in support. And what did one of these people come out publicly and say, oh, you can't have that? No, wait until we put a march on. We'll put one on 2 weeks later, and we'll have the right people there to speak. The right people. Well, that really pissed me off. The right people. So these keepers of the gates, these keepers of the microphones and the stages at these public marching events, they get to decide who the right people are, I guess. That stuck in my craw a bit. And then the fact that they were attacking Beck Freedom, who had the audacity to try and put this on without the support of the usual channels. All right? Now, I don't actually recall whether or not Aussie Cossack got into her or having the audacity to hold a rally in Sydney without talking to him. Maybe she did talk to him. I don't know. Don't think he put much by way of infrastructure into it. That Sydney rally that attracted over 20,000 people was all her doing, from memory. In Melbourne, there were close to 50,000 people wandering around Melbourne. Some have said 150, but, let's say 50. In Brisbane, there were over 20,000 people, which is more than, and this can be said for all of the rallies, all of the March for Australia rallies, attracted more people than any of the other rallies that came after them, the Unite for Australia or the Save Australia or the Walk Around the Corner for whoever, bleats loudest or begs longest. So that's why I support March for Australia. It's got a pretty clear message. It's not against immigration. It's against mass immigration. It's against flooding our country when our infrastructure in every area is not up to it, is simply not up to it. And there is a video that I can play for you, if I can just dig it up here. Let me find it. Just have a watch of this. So this is a video. This is a video taken of an inspection that's happening in Sydney. Right now, I'm going to keep stopping and starting it because this bloody music's going to get me in trouble with copyright. But this is in Bondi, I believe. There was it 2 levels of stairs or 3, plus a whole balcony, and then this. I mean, it'd want to be on the beach, wouldn't it? Unfriggin' believable. But that's Bondi. But that is, I would say, a small line for Bondi. Go into any other suburb in any other city on every day of the week when there are inspections, and you will find lines that long and longer with families, you know, with little children sleeping in their cars. All this done because we have a government that seems to think it's okay to throw the doors wide open and encourage mass immigration. Mass immigration. You know, they're telling lies about how many people are coming into the country. Last year, over 750,000 came into the country. Was that 2023? 2023, I think that was. Last year, they brought that back to 570-odd thousand. I think it's 585,000 they're expecting this year. However, current figures indicate that we're receiving just under 1,100 new arrivals a day, and we are not sending anywhere near that number back out the gate at any time. So I would support mass, or the lowering of the mass immigration targets. I would remove all of the mass immigration incentives that are being given. And I could show you one of those. Can I? Maybe I can't. Let me try and share another video with you. This will give you an idea.
ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਆ 'ਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਛੇਤੀ ਪੱਕੇ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ?
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਮਨੀ। ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਆ 'ਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ 1 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ
So you're probably not quite understanding what's being said here, but this is 2 fellas explaining how you can get a 1-year training
ਕੋਰਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੀਆਰ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ
concurrent study, bachelor's and master's
ਸਟੱਡੀ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਬੈਚਲਰ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਸਟੱਡੀ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ 1 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਟ੍ਰੇਡ ਕੋਰਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੀਆਰ ਲੈ ਸਕਦਾ।
I don't begrudge people getting an education, folks. I really don't. I know from experience, because we tried to get Dwayno an upgraded truck ticket recently, that truck driving and truck training organizations seem to be run by Indians. I don't understand why Australians aren't running these sorts of companies. Would have thought they'd be good businesses, but anyway.
ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਕੋਰਸ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਆਪਾਂ, ਪਲਾਸਟਰ ਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਹਾਈ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਲਿਮਿਟਡ ਕਾਲਜਸ ਕੋਲ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਆ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, ਕਾਰਪੈਂਟਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਟਾਈਲਿੰਗ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਪੇਂਟਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ।
But there's a lot of other things, and PR with 65 plus points. I'm not exactly sure what that means. May have something to do with you.
Trade courses ਹੈਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਆ।
ਤੇ ਮਿੱਤਰੋ ਵੇਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ
We want you to work in construction.
आज करे सो अब पल में वीजा मुक जाना है।
They've certainly got the fluoro down good, and I'm just going to skip that forward. As you can see, most of that training occurs in Queensland. So, once again, I do not begrudge anybody getting a job and working. But those ads aren't playing in Australia. They're not employing Australians. They're not training Australians. These are ads that are being run in India and are encouraging people to come out here, get trade qualified under Australian trade laws. Up until recently, Australia didn't recognise any formal qualification coming out of, well, many countries, not just that one, many countries. But they don't recognise if you're a doctor. They don't recognise you're a doctor here. You've got to go through the Australian training before they will qualify you as a doctor. And you've got to go through the full training, right? So another 7 years of your life before you're able to practice medicine again. So that's a big deal for a doctor who's moving out of India or Sri Lanka or wherever and moving here, not being able to practice. Well, those laws are now being relaxed. And I guess after you've proven that if you're a brain surgeon in India, you can be a brain surgeon here after maybe 12 months of supervision or whatever, then great, we've got more brain surgeons. But what we appear to be getting at the moment is a lot of Uber drivers. And I understand the drive is to bring out workers who can build houses, but we have plenty of builders in Australia that are going broke. Why are they going broke? Because there's no margin in the building products that they're using or building their houses out of. And so if it gets to a point where you've agreed a contract price for your house, and all of a sudden, all of the things required to build that house halfway through the build or at different periods of time through that build keep going up and going up and going up to a point where the builder, who might be building 2 or 3 of these or more houses at the same time, cannot afford to buy them anymore. He needs to go back to you, the owner, to try and get more money, to break your contract, to throw more on top, and everything slows down. Well, how's that going to be fixed if we bring in 1 million more qualified carpenters and plasterers? I fail to understand how the Australian government's reasoning here is anything but flawed. But flawed it desperately and definitely is. So you might have heard the ABC have been in a little bit of trouble recently because of their lack of presenting a audio piece, a show, a late line show recorded on ABC Radio in 1975. Now, this piece of filth was recorded by a known pedophile and 2 gentlemen and a 15 or 16-year-old boy, I think it was, who was in the studio at the time. There are many people who have heard this audio. It has been buried in the archives of the ABC, and buried so much that the ABC have said on numerous occasions to a number of people that it does not exist. But the fact remains that it does exist, and there are copies of it available, although you won't find them available through a YouTube or anything like that, because the ABC owns the rights to it. It was a recorded ABC program, and they own all the legitimate rights to it. Therefore, anywhere you go to try and post it, it will be taken down because the ABC have an order out for that very thing. However, it was expected that certain parliamentarians, particularly the minister, would be able to gain access and hear this. Now, apparently this program was played to a group of politicians a few weeks ago in Parliament. It was played behind closed doors, and one of the politicians who heard it, a female, was sickened by it to the point where she needed to leave the room. That's my understanding of it. So the ABC was contacted, and they wanted to put or get the actual audio submitted. The ABC has now advised the minister that the 1975 late line interview does not meet the current editorial standards of the ABC, and that the ABC has decided not to approve the release of the program for republication or broadcast. So therefore, it will stay buried. Given the ABC's editorial independence, the decision is a matter for the ABC. Well, it is, unless there is a free-to-air copy of it that's already out there, and there is. What's going to happen with that? Well, who knows? I would hope that somebody is going to release it, but there is by no guarantee, or no means a guarantee, that that will happen. John Ruddock has actually listened to the entire tape. He said he's not capable of exaggerating how bad it is. The tape should be made public, bearing in mind that it was broadcast on ABC Radio in the mid-1970s. It's hardly classified material. Exactly right. This is something that was broadcast in the 70s, and the presenter who put it together was a strange, sick little human being who my first memories of him were being part of the Mike Walsh show many, many years ago. Richard, forgotten his last name. I was going to say Dawkins, but it's not Dawkins. Anyway, horrible piece of filth and slime. Lived in Nimbin for many years, got away with murder. Some say quite literally, but he died a few years back. It's part of the reason I think that maybe some of this stuff is coming out now. Speaking of coming out now, the ISIS girls are back. Labor have brought back a number of these girls. I think the number is 5 or 7 wives and their children. How many children? Well, however many the mad ISIS bastard husbands could pump into them before they went and cut the head off somebody and got blown up by a wandering missile. Now, these women were all married to jihadis who either left Australia and went there to fight, or these girls left Australia to go and meet a jihadi to marry him and be involved, at the real pointy end of the war. Can we just say, with the ISIS, the cutting off of the heads, all that kind of thing. These women just idolized those blokes, had to get over there and have kids to them. So after ISIS bit the dust, these women, we thought, were dead, but apparently they've been able to gain some support in refugee camps in Syria, where they have been predominantly since the end of ISIS, or the end of their husbands at any rate. Now, how they got out of Syria and got to Turkey before getting Australian passports and coming back here to Australia, well, that's a story I would really like to hear. Who gave them the passports? Clearly the government. How did the government know to give them the passports? Who's been helping them? Who's been facilitating this to happen? How much did it all cost to bring them back? But more importantly, where are they? Where are they? You can be guaranteed they haven't been stuck in downtown Gympie or downtown Horsham, because a full burqa'd woman turning up in town with a tribe of kids all screaming obscenities at everybody walking past is probably going to stand out. They're more likely to be somewhere in Western Sydney or maybe somewhere in Melbourne, but they're all back here in the country and they are being hidden by the Australian government. Now, that's not because we wish harm on them or anything like that. No. I think they want them hidden because for the rest of their lives, we are going to be paying for them. And the less said about that, the better, would be how the government would view that. Very much so. The less said about that, the better. Absolutely sickening. I hate this government. You can scan that Q card, that Q code up there, the QR code. That's what I'm trying to say, in the top left-hand corner or right-hand corner. I don't know, with that corner. If you scan that on your phone, folks, it'll take you directly to the place where you can sign the petition to put forward a vote of no confidence into Albanese and his sleazy bunch of foreign operatives masquerading as a government here in Australia. Now, that particular petition closes on the 22nd of this month, and it will be presented to the Senate, I believe, and the House. We need a lot of signatures on it, folks. A huge amount of signatures. I think we need 10 million to be effective. Others say less so. Right now, we've got quite a few 100,000, but if you scan that and go and add your name to it, we'll have quite a few 100,000 plus 1 or 2 or 10 or 1,000. That would be great. Please share it. Make sure you get as many people who believe that Australia is being screwed over senseless by a bunch of corrupt, I was going to call them morons, but they're not. They're just corrupt individuals who are more than happy to put themselves before all of us and everything that we hold strong. Filth. Absolute filth. Did I have much else to show you about all of that tonight? I've got a couple of interesting things to show you, I guess. This is something that I get a wry grin out of. This happened in California. A $2.2 billion solar farm in California has been closed down because it is not serving its purpose. $2.2 billion invested into solar panels out in the desert, always going to be doing marvelous things. What they were doing was radiating their rays, refocusing that thing back into a main tower or a number of main towers. That's what you can see there glowing in the center of the picture. And unfortunately, it wasn't all that good for the environment. Any birds that happened to fly through that reflection blew up into a crisp, turned into Kentucky Fried Duck extremely quickly, just flying through the beams. They were essentially vaporized. So just another spectacular failure that will be racked up as a learning experience or whatever by those people who were silly enough to invest in it, but will have been able to write off that loss, that $2.2 billion loss, because, well, there's ways and means of doing that. And they might do it by investing in Australia or trying to put some of this bullshit into us. I'm hopeful of getting Jared Holland on from the Page Group coming up Thursday night for a chat. If you haven't already gone over and had a look as we talked about this on Friday night, please do. There's a number of very interesting columns he's written over there, and I'm looking forward to talking to him particularly about where this sly, dark money is coming from that is propping up the climate cringe, climate crap, the climate change argument that is being propagated and has been propagated for many years. These are, interesting times, folks, and to be able to see where all of this money is coming from overseas, from NGOs, from very rich billionaires, it's very interesting indeed. All right, let's have a bit of a look on an interesting note. Going back to 1937, it was a pretty hard time in America leading up to the Second World War, the Great Depression, and, of course, the uncertainty of the changes that were being wrought at that time through community, through industry and everything else. It wasn't unusual for people to go out hunting and catch their own food, but in 1937 in Montana, you could go out and you could shoot yourself a grasshopper. Yeah, that's a grasshopper, folks. I know. I've had a witchetty grub. You wouldn't think a grasshopper would make that much difference, but that thing's 3 foot long. That is a huge, huge grasshopper. And apparently 2 or 3 of them, and you could feed 4 families. An amazing sort of time. So if anybody has any old historical photos of more things like that, like, 7-foot ants or something, I'd be really interested in learning more about that. Here's something we should all be trying to learn more about. 52,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria this year alone, but nobody is talking about it. Now, I've noticed that there is a little bit more talk about Christianity, a little bit more talk about Christians lately coming out of America. But that talk is coming out of the Democrats. That talk is coming out against Christians and against Christianity. That talk is demonizing Christians. The far Christian right is something we are just now starting to hear being thrown into conversation by those of the far demonic left. It's about time, real soon, folks, real soon, this spiritual war is going to come to roost right where you live. You're going to be asked to stand up for your spiritual belief. You're going to be asked to support Jesus. You're going to be asked to support our Savior. You're going to be asked to stand up and show that support. The spiritual war goes on. One side of it is extremely active, extremely aware, extremely motivated. And the other side, blissfully wandering along, thinking, it's all right. You're good. So think about that. Coming up soon, that faith that we all have, and some of us don't have it. There are those who don't have any faith whatsoever. But the people of faith, well, very soon they're going to be called on to be counted, I believe. Let's hope you and I are amongst them. I know I am. So I got one more thing I wanted to share with you tonight, and this was an idea that was thrown up by Greg Waptha in our chat. I think it's a great idea, but it may not be for everyone. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep up with the chat a little bit too. Okay, so I won't try and do that. I will go back to doing what I can do, and that's get away from the chat and pushing up buttons so I can show you things like this idiot. All right, well, let's go back, shall we? Greg Waptha has had a hell of an idea. He would like a few of us to all get together, as I would, and have been trying to do for the last couple of years with the bus. But that hasn't quite worked out the way that I'd hoped. Haven't been able to get as many people on the road and catching up. I've had some, but haven't had as many as we would like. And Greg has suggested that possibly what we all need is a cruise. Now, he went and did a little bit of research. Do not hold these prices as gospel. But he went and did a little bit of research and discovered that there are a couple of cruises leaving Brisbane next year, May and June of next year, to be absolutely sure. Oh, and my picture's just dropped out. And prices starting in the 589, 609 to, what is it, 1144, 1314, $1,314 for a suite on these particular cruises. Now, these are 4-day cruises. I'm going to come back. I'll just go out and come back. Hang on. Right, there we go. Back. Sorry about that. Every time I bring up a friggin' picture, it wants to kick my head out of the shot, which I can kind of understand. I have that sort of a head. But anyway, there's a look at the boat prices. Is it something you might be interested in doing? If it is, don't ring up and start booking cruises. Send me an email, or send Vince and I an email, maybe. Carl or Vince at vofhq.com. saying, yes, we might be interested. And how many of you there are? 1, 2, 10, 15, 20, I don't know. You might have groups together. I don't know. I will make some inquiries to the cruise companies and see whether or not there is a better deal that we can get. But I would think we would probably need to be pulling 100 or hundreds of people on board before they would give us a much better deal than the ones they seem to be offering there. Let us know. If it's a 4-day cruise, like that one appears to be, it's up to Cairns and back out of Brisbane. So Don't worry about seasickness too much, because a fair chunk of that I would think would be inside the barrier reef, and no big waves inside the barrier reef. I've never done that particular cruise. In fact, I've only ever been on one cruise in my life. And it wasn't around Australia or like that or anywhere around Australia. It was from Australia over to New Zealand and back. And I enjoyed the crossing more than I probably enjoyed much else. But if it's something you'd like to do and we can get a reasonable price, like, I don't know, is that reasonable? $600 and $589 for 4 days, I thought, pretty good price. But I don't know much about cruises. I don't know about prices for cruises. If these are things that you know a lot about, I'd love to hear from you. And yes, why can't we do a Voice of Freedom cruise? Why can't we, maybe have a few get-togethers? Might be able to put on a show at some point during the event where we can put a few pictures up on the big screen and have an interesting conversation. We'll film that. Obviously, can't stream it when you're in the middle of the ocean, but we'll film that and play that when we get back, along with a whole heap of other great, cool things we can do. So if that is something that you would like to do, let's do it. Let's see if there's any interest. But they're the two dates that Greg was able to find, May and June of next year. So that gives people, a good 8 months to prepare. And I think it's a very minimum deposit that you need to put down to book a seat on these things. So we'll just see. I'll make some inquiries. And if you actually are long-term cruisers and you know more about this than me, and you know what cruise companies operate out of Brisbane, for instance, then let me know. I'm going to reach out to them and see if we can't do something a little bit fun for us all. I think that would be absolutely wonderful. All right, folks, I hope you are having a wonderful time mashing around now with daylight savings. I saw Sandy complaining about it earlier, and I meant to bring this up on Friday night. So right now we'll be approaching 8:30 in the southern states, Victoria and New South Wales, Tasmania. We will be approaching 8 o'clock in South Australia. We'll be approaching 7:30 in Queensland and the Northern Territory. And in Western Australia, we'll be 2 hours prior to that. So it's always a bugger at this time of year to figure out what time zone you would like the show in. Obviously, everybody says they'd like it at their normal time, but I can't keep everybody happy at their normal time. So what would you prefer? If I do a show at 5:30 Queensland time, that's 6:30 Victoria, South Australia, Tasmania, 6 o'clock South Australia, and 4 o'clock in Western Australia. That's terribly hopeful. But would that be better for you guys? I'm happy to go with the majority thoughts on all of this. Either that, or we will just go with what time zone I happen to be in. Like I say, my plan is to hit the road here shortly. I will be spending the majority of the time between now and New Year in Queensland still. But after that, the plan is to come south and spend some time through New South Wales and Victoria with great people from the Voice of Freedom family who have reached out and offered me a place to be. So definitely going to go and be there. Also in South Australia, there is... Oh, okay. If we're going to talk about cruises, there is something else that has been thrown around in the background by the girls from Truth Seekers. That's Becky O and Doris and crew. Now, if you would be interested in coming on a riverboat cruise, if you would be interested in hiring a houseboat, maybe a few of us, get a few of us on a few houseboats, and we take that houseboat or houseboats down the Murray River and wind up, I don't know, somewhere around Mannum, maybe, where Vince lives. I think that would be pretty special. So the girls from Truth Seekers were putting that to me a little bit. Okay, you can't see me now for some reason. My screen is black. Well, I'm going to finish talking now anyway. And I guess if it's black, I can put up a little picture to keep people amused while I figure out why it's not streaming me. Because I'm seeing my picture. Normally I don't, but now I am. So I don't know, weird. All right, folks, as it's doing that, I'll love you and leave you. But yeah, two little potential get-togethers, one in Victoria on the Victoria, South Australia, New South Wales border, the Murray River, a houseboat cruise for a week or so. And the other one, actually a cruise out of Brisbane in May or June of next year. If either of those things interest you, please email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I'll put you down on the spreadsheet to say, yes, we are interested in such things. We will be back tomorrow, hopefully with Beck Freedom and maybe a few others for a bit of a chat tomorrow night. Thursday night, I'm looking forward to catching up with Jared from the Page Group. And then Friday, we've got another free-for-all. And good Lord Almighty, you never know what's going to come there. Have yourself a good night, folks. Be safe on the roads and watch out for those dickheads. They are absolutely everywhere.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!